continent, and thanks for traveling. It was a long distance for you, some of you are very tired, but I think this conference will really give us what is really needed for the society. Waste management, especially municipal waste management, but we'll not focus on it. Resource efficiency, circular economy, these are the two key words that we have to keep in mind, and our conference can really give access to these new terms that they are in our life these days. Waste is a big resource, it's a huge resource. Now everything is wasted. We have to develop technologies, innovation, success stories to pass all this knowledge to the public authorities, to the local authorities, that they develop programs for their waste. In my country, Greece, we're just starting on the waste management, and success stories, new development, innovation is something that is needed. And I think in many European countries, and not only European countries, around the world, we need these success stories, innovations to move forward for our resources, which are very much limited, and we are really spending them like everything. So I don't want to keep you for long. We have to move, and I would like to have the mayor to address it.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλή σας μέρα. Καλώς ήρθατε στην Ελλάδα, καλώς ήρθατε στη νησί μας, το νησί της Τίνο. Επιτρέψτε μου, όσο φίλο και επιθυμώ, να κάνω μια μικρή αναφορά για το νησί μας, προσπαθώντας να αναδείξω τα χαρακτηριστικά του σε εσάς, τους επισκέπτες του. Καλώς ήρθατε λοιπόν στο ιερό νησί, στο όμορφο νησί, στο νησί της τέχνης και του πολιτισμού. Ιερό νησί, γιατί εδώ στην Τίνο επέλεξε η μεγαλόχαρη Παναγία, η μητέρα της χριστιανοσύνης, να στήσει το θρόνο της. Και έτσι, ο λαός του Τίνου είναι ιδιαίτερα ευλαβής και πιστός. Και τούτο αποδεικνύεται από τις περίπου 1000 εκκλησίες που είναι διάσπαρτες σε όλο το νησί. Όμορφο νησί. Όμορφο νησί γιατί η φύση απλόχερα άφησε τις πινελιές της και γιατί η καλλιτεχνική φλέβα των κατοίκων της δημιούργησε οικισμούς και εξοχές μοναδικής αρχιτεκτονικής. Νησί της τέχνης και του πολιτισμού, γιατί εδώ γεννήθηκαν οι μεγάλοι καλλιτέχνες της πατρίδας μας, όπως ο Γιαννούλης Χαλεπάς, ο Νικόλαος Γκίζης, ο Λίτρας, ο Σόφος, ο Φιλιππότης και τόσοι άλλοι επώνυμοι και ανώνυμοι που με τα έργα τους έχουν στολίσει όλες τις γωνίες της Ελλάδος αλλά και του κόσμου ολόκληρου. Αρκετοί εκ των αναφερομένων έλκουν την καταγωγή τους από τον πύργο, από τον οικισμό που μας φιλοξενεί και που ο συγκεκριμένος οικισμός είναι πράγματι ένα μουσείο νησιώτικης αρχιτεκτονικής. Σας καλώ λοιπόν μέσα από τις περιηγήσεις σας αυτό το διήμερο να το ανακαλύψετε και είμαι βέβαιος ότι θα το αγαπήσετε. Κυρίες και κύριοι, η σημερινή εκδήλωση για τα συμπεράσματα από την ανάπτυξη και εφαρμογή ενός πιλωτικού συστήματος για την ολοκληρωμένη διαχείριση των στερεών αποβλήτων στην Τίνο, σε συμφωνία με την οδηγία πλαίσιο για τα σταθερά απόβλητα, διεξάγεται σε μια κρίσιμη χρονική συγκυρία για το μέλλον της χώρας στην ευρωπαϊκή της προοπτική. Από την πορεία της διαπραγμάτευσης της κυβέρνησης με τους Ευρωπαίους εταίρους και τους δανειστές και την κατάληξη ή μη στη συμφωνία μαζί τους, θα εξαρτηθεί πώς θα πορευτούμε ως κοινωνία τα επόμενα χρόνια. Είναι λοιπόν λογικό η επίλυση των μεγάλων ανοιχτών ζητημάτων της χώρας που απασχολούν τα θεσμικά όργανα της διοίκησης, τους δήμους της χώρας, αλλά και όλους τους πολίτες, να εξαρτάται άμεσα από τις εξελίξεις που δρομολογούνται και πολύ σύντομα θα ξέρουμε τα αποτελέσματά τους. Το μόνο σίγουρο είναι ότι ό,τι και αν γίνει, τελικά η ζωή θα συνεχιστεί σε αυτή τη χώρα. Και ένα από τα ζητήματα αυτής της καθημερινότητας θα είναι και αυτό της διαχείρισης των στερεών αποβλήτων, ένα ζήτημα που μας ταλαιπωρεί δεκαετίες τώρα. Ζήτημα που πλέον δεν υπάρχουν περιθώρια πανηνοδιών και πρέπει να αντιμετωπιστεί ριζικά και αποτελεσματικά. Με την πεποίθηση ότι η χώρα μας θα παραμείνει στην Ευρώπη, πιστεύω ότι θα κληθούμε στη συνέχεια να προχωρήσουμε με πολιτικές που θα είναι σύμφωνες στο ζήτημα αυτό με την ευρωπαϊκή στρατηγική και νομοθεσία. Όπως είναι γνωστό, πρόσφατα άρχισε η διαβούλευση για το νέο εθνικό σχεδιασμό διαχείρισης στερεών αποβλήτων. Η θεσμική αρμοδιότητα της διαχείρισης των αστικών στερεών αποβλήτων είναι ευθύνη της πρωτοβάθμιας αυτοδιοίκησης, όπως είναι ευθύνη της αυτοδιοίκησης και σε όλους σχεδόν τον ευρωπαϊκό χώρο. Και σε αυτό το πλαίσιο, ως Δήμοι, πρέπει να έχουμε ουσιαστικό ρόλο. Είναι γνωστό πως όλες οι προηγούμενες ευρωπαϊκές και όχι μόνο χώρες έχουν εφαρμοσμένες και αποτελεσματικές λύσεις, εφαρμόζοντας μάλιστα πρακτικές και τεχνολογίες που στη χώρα μας κατά καιρούς έχουν δαιμονοποιηθεί. Το ζήτημα κατά την άποψή μου είναι εξόχως πολιτικό και την κύρια ευθύνη έχει το πολιτικό σύστημα, δηλαδή ο τρόπος με τον οποίο όλες οι κυβερνήσεις αντιμετώπιζαν το πρόβλημα πάρα πολλά χρόνια υπό το φόβο του πολιτικού κόστους, χωρίς να παραγνωρίζω και τις ευθύνες της τοπικής αυτοδιοίκησης. Πολλές φορές, στο βωμό των μικροπολιτικών σκοπιμοτήτων, ο όποιος σχεδιασμός και οι όποιες θεσμοθετημένες επιλογές, επιτρέψτε μου να χρησιμοποιήσω την έκφραση, πήγαν περίπατο. Με βάση λοιπόν το νέο εθνικό σχεδιασμό, πρέπει επιτέλους μέσα από ένα εξαντλητικό πολιτικό και επιστημονικό διάλογο να καταλήξουμε ως χώρα σε ένα κοινά αποδεκτό, βιώσιμο και εφικτά υλοποιήσιμο σχέδιο. Κυρίες και κύριοι, η αυτοδιοίκηση πρώτου βαθμού αναγνωρίζει την ανάγκη να υπάρξουν ριζικές αλλαγές στο μοντέλο διαχείρισης απορριμμάτων στη χώρα και γι' αυτό θα πρέπει να διασφαλιστούν από την πολιτεία όλες οι προϋποθέσεις προκειμένου να φτάσουμε σε μια οριστική λύση του προβλήματος. Με αυτές τις σκέψεις χαιρετίζω την παρουσία σας και πιστεύω ότι τα συμπεράσματα από το έργο που υλοποιήθηκε στο νησί μας για την επίλυση του θέματος της διαχείρισης των στερεών αποβλήτων θα αποτελέσει πρότυπο και για άλλα νησιά, αλλά και για απομακρυσμένες περιοχές. Κλείνοντας, θέλω να ευχαριστήσω θερμά τους εταίρους του έργου, δηλαδή το Πανεπιστήμιο της Βερόνα και το Εθνικό Μετσόβιο Πολυτεχνείο, που το 2010 συνυπογράψαμε την πρόσταση συνεργασίας μας προς το πρόγραμμα LIFE, που ενέκρινε και συγχρηματοδότησε την πρότασή μας. Ιδιαίτερα την κυρία Λοϊζίδου και τους συνεργάτες της, τους υπηρεσιακούς παράγοντες του Δήμου Τίνου και ιδιαίτερα τον προϊστάμενο του Τμήματος Προγραμματισμού, κ. Αναστάσιο Πιτάλη, και βέβαια τους κατοίκους του πύργου που αγκάλιασαν το πρόγραμμα, τονίζοντας σε όλους ότι για να υπάρξει λύση στο θέμα της διαχείρισης των στερεών αποβλήτων είναι απαραίτητη η κατανόηση του προβλήματος από τους πολίτες και η αμέριστη συμμετοχή τους. Τέλος, ευχαριστώ το Μουσείο Μαρμαροτεχνίας του Μήλου Πειραιώς που μας φιλοξενεί. Καλή συνέχεια.
Situation in our country. I wanted to avoid a lot of this issue. It's really hurting a lot, but we have to go forward. I have to address, I'm going to speak in Greek now, and I hope you get all the translation because it's available there. It's from the local authorities, just 1 minute more and I think we go ahead. The Ministry of Environment is here. Mr. Politopoulos, to address the conference, he will come a bit later. His own speech. I'm going to speak in Greek. Χαιρετισμός του Προέδρου της Κεντρικής Ένωσης Δήμων Ελλάδας, κ. Γιώργου Πατούλη, για το Διεθνές Συνέδριο που διεξάγεται σήμερα στην Κίνα. Αγαπητοί σύνεδροι, η διοργάνωση του Διεθνούς αυτού Συνεδρίου για τη βιώσιμη διαχείριση των στερεών αποβλήτων στην εξαιρετικά δύσκολη αυτή περίοδο για τη χώρα μας και η ευρεία και αντιπροσωπευτική συμμετοχή συνέδρων από την Ελλάδα και το εξωτερικό καταδεικνύει το ιδιαίτερο ενδιαφέρον και το ειδικό βάρος που έχει το θέμα του συνεδρίου. Πέραν της διαχρονικής σημασίας που έχει το ζήτημα της βιώσιμης διαχείρισης των στερεών αποβλήτων, σήμερα βρίσκεται σε εξέλιξη η διαμόρφωση ενός νέου εθνικού σχεδίου διαχείρισης των απορριμμάτων στην χώρα μας. Θέμα για το οποίο η Κεντρική Ένωση Δήμων Ελλάδος διαμορφώσαμε τις δικές μας θέσεις στην ΚΕΔΕ με την παρουσία και του αρμόδιου υπουργού κ. Τσιρόνη στο Διοικητικό Συμβούλιο. Είστε Τσιρόνη στις Δεμίτης Θέλουμε Πάνω. Θέμα για το οποίο συμμετείχαμε και καταθέσαμε εκτενώς τις θέσεις μας τόσο στην πρόσφατη ένατη σύνοδο των Φορέων Διαχείρισης Στερεών Αποβλήτων στην Κρήτη, όσο και στη συνέχεια στην αρμόδια Επιτροπή της Ελληνικής Βουλής. Είναι ξεκάθαρο ότι η θεσμική αρμοδιότητα της διαχείρισης αστικών στερεών αποβλήτων είναι ευθύνη της πρωτοβάθμιας αυτοδιοίκησης, όπως είναι ευθύνη της αυτοδιοίκησης σε όλο σχεδόν τον ευρωπαϊκό χώρο. Σε αυτό είμαστε αδιαπραγμάτευτοι. Το ζήτημα για μας είναι εξίωτης όπως πολιτικό. Για τη σημερινή υστέρηση που παρατηρείται στη χώρα μας στο θέμα της διαχείρισης των στερεών αποβλήτων, την κύρια ευθύνη την έχει το πολιτικό σύστημα, αφού όλες σχεδόν οι κυβερνήσεις αντιμετώπιζαν το πρόβλημα υπό τον φόβο του πολιτικού κόστους. Είναι γνωστό ότι πολλές φορές το βωμό των μικροπολιτικών σκοπιμοτήτων αυτανερέθηκε ο όποιος σχεδιασμός και οι όποιες θεσμοθετημένες επιλογές. Πέραν της όποιας κριτικής ή αποτίμησης για την υφιστάμενη κατάσταση, θεωρούμε σήμερα αναγκαία την εφαρμογή ενός επιτυχημένου μοντέλου διαχείρισης στερεών αποβλήτων που θα βασίζεται πρώτον στην οικονομική στήριξη των Δήμων μέσω ανακατεύθυνσης των πόρων που αφορούν στη διαχείριση των στερεών αποβλήτων για την άμεση εφαρμογή μιας ολοκληρωμένης διαδικασίας ανακύκλωσης και κομποστοποίησης. Δεύτερον, στην αποδοχή μιας αρχής για τη διαχείριση των στερεών αποβλήτων με τα συναρμόδια Υπουργεία, ώστε αυτά να έχουν ρόλο αποκλειστικά νομοθετικό ρυθμιστικό, αφήνοντας τον επιχειρησιακό ρόλο μόνο στους φορείς της αυτοδιοίκησης. Τρίτον, στη θεσμοθέτηση ενός μεταβατικού σχεδίου βραχυπρόθεσμης και μεσοπρόθεσμης αντιμετώπισης του προβλήματος μέχρι την πλήρη εφαρμογή των προτινόμενων σε ολοκληρωμένα τεκμηριωμένη πρόβλεψη και διασφάλιση του οικονομικού, κοινωνικού και περιβαλλοντικού ωφέλους, ώστε να καλύπτονται οι επιταγές της εθνικής νομοθεσίας και οι δεσμεύσεις της χώρας προς την Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση, χωρίς συγκυριακές αλλαγές και μικροπολιτικού χαρακτήρα σκοπιμότητας. Τέταρτον, στην ανάδειξη και υποστήριξη καλών πρακτικών που ευθυγραμμίζονται με το πνεύμα και το γράμμα της εθνικής νομοθεσίας και των ευρωπαϊκών οδηγιών, αλλά και την προβολή κακών πρακτικών του παρελθόντος με την αναλογούσα και δική μας ευθύνη που πρέπει να αποφευθούν στο μελλοντικό σχεδιασμό. Πέμπτον, στην άμεση χωροθέτηση δημοτικών σταθμών μεταφόρτωσης και την προώθηση της κομποστοποίησης με την παράλληλη επιτάχυνση στην κατασκευή σταθμών μεταφόρτωσης και πόρων διάθεσης των υπολειμμάτων που καθυστερούν αδικαιολόγητα αναπαράγοντας αρνητικές περιβαλλοντικές και οικονομικές επιπτώσεις. Έκτος, την ενίσχυση του επιχειρησιακού ρόλου των φορέων διαχείρισης στερεών αποβλήτων και τη θωράκισή τους με θεσμικές ρυθμίσεις που θα οδηγούν σε μια ευέλικτη, ισχυρή και αποτελεσματική λειτουργία τους, ώστε να μπορέσουν να ανταποκριθούν σε ανταγωνιστικές συνθήκες, αφήνοντας πίσω λογικές που ισοπεδώνουν ό,τι θετικό ή αρνητικό υπάρχει και επιχειρούν μια ενιαία αντιμετώπιση σε όλη την χώρα ανεξαρτήτως των υποκειμένων πρακτικών που έχουν εφαρμοστεί. Για μας είναι αυτονόητο ότι στο νέο εθνικό σχέδιο διαχείρισης αποβλήτων θα πρέπει να ενσωματωθεί η ευρωπαϊκή εμπειρία, και συμπληρώνω εγώ, γι' αυτό είμαστε σήμερα εδώ, καλών πρακτικών από πόλεις και χώρες που έχουν αντιμετωπίσει αποτελεσματικά το ζήτημα της διαχείρισης στερεών αποβλήτων με βιώσιμα και κενά αποδεκτά συστήματα. Πιστεύοντας ότι το συνέδριό σας θα αποτελέσει ένα εργαστήριο διερεύνησης, ανταλλαγής απόψεων και κρίσιμων συμπερασμάτων που θα συμβάλλουν στη διαμόρφωση και τεκμηρίωση επιλογών, θέσεων και πρακτικών στη βιώσιμη διαχείριση των στερεών αποβλήτων, σας μεταφέρω τις ευχές μου για καλή επιτυχία του συνεδρίου στο φιλόξενο νησί της Τίνου. Το Εθνικό Μετρόμιο Πολυτεχνείο, σε συνεργασία με το Δήμο Τίνου και το Σωματικό Δίκτυο Ιακώβος, καθώς και οι φορείς αυτοδιοίκησης που συμμετέχουν, θα μεταφέρουν σε εμάς την πολύτιμη αποτίμηση των συμπερασμάτων που θα προκύψουν, τη γνώση και τις επιτυχημένες πρακτικές και πρέπει να ακολουθήσουμε στην πορεία που Χριστόφωνη την εφορία. Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Now, we continue. As you can see, the politicians are focusing on the political issues, and I think it's a major issue because we cannot really develop our technologies and use them if the policies are not there and if there is no will from the political system. We experience this in my country, and I think in many countries we experience the same issues, and now we have to move very fast to the next session of our program for the keynote speakers, and I would like to ask Mr. George Levlis from DP Environment, the European Commission, to address our conference, to give the keynote speakers, and his friend for many, many years supported the country to develop strategies, to follow what is happening in Europe, to avoid penalties for Greece, which of course we didn't manage well as a country. And thanks for being with us this once again. We consider him as our great friend for Greece. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Maria, κύριε Δήμαρχε, κύριε Μελισίδου, κυρίες και κύριοι. Θα ήθελα να πω κάποια εισαγωγικά γλώσσα μας. Θα ήθελα και εκ μέρους της Ευρωπαϊκής Επιτροπής να ευχαριστήσω τους διοργανωτές του Διεθνούς αυτού συνεδρίου και ειδικότερα την κυρία Μελισίδου και να σας πω βέβαια ότι αυτό το συνέδριο συγχρηματοδοτείται από την Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή στο πλαίσιο του προγράμματος LIFE και χαιρόμαστε ιδιαίτερα που το πρόγραμμα αυτό εξελίσσεται και υλοποιείται εδώ στην Τίνο, το ιερό αυτό νησί, τον φάρο της χριστιανοσύνης, ένα νησί πολιτισμού, όπως είπε και ο Δήμαρχος, το οποίο μας συγκεντρώνει σήμερα όλους εδώ, ώστε να συζητήσουμε όλοι μαζί τις πρακτικές για την διαχείριση των αποβλήτων, ένα πρόβλημα το οποίο μας απασχολεί όλους σε επίπεδο πόλεων, περιφερειών και κρατών της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης και σε επίπεδο Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. I will try to be brief in my short presentation. I will not refer to the pathologies of the waste management that you all know. We are in a member state that was condemned to pay a daily penalty for an illegal landfill on the island of Crete. It was subsequently condemned again, and we are now currently paying fines, notwithstanding the economic crisis that we could have avoided. But we are not alone. Other member states have been condemned as well on waste issues, even to mention a neighboring country. And of course, there are a lot of infringement procedures against several member states, including all member states, for waste management shortcomings, which are due to, let's say, inappropriate waste management planning in NIMBY and banana syndromes that we have in many member states, and in particular this country, in not proper absorption of EU funds that will facilitate the creation of environmental waste infrastructures that could solve a lot of problems, and to a lot of other reasons, including also incorrect transportation of environmental directives, in particular the waste ones, and the problems as regards their implementation. I will look into the future and come with some concrete ideas. As Maria has said, waste is a resource. The flag of one of the flags of the European Commission next to growth and jobs is resource efficiency and the development of a circular economy. And in that respect, we need new production and consumption patterns. We need to design differently our products, taking into consideration their life cycle. We need to prevent the production of products, and of course we need to follow the so-called waste hierarchy. As through waste we can develop new business opportunities, dealing with waste as products, create micro enterprises, develop, as Maria has mentioned, eco-innovation, innovation in general, and resource efficiency. There are a lot of opportunities that are offered, and of course, the European Commission is providing a lot of EU funds to support waste management, which is extremely important. We are now in the new programming period, 2014-2020. A lot of money is foreseen on the so-called cohesion policy under the funds of the European Union. And within this envelope, a lot of money will go for waste management, where we need waste management infrastructures, but it will also go to support soft measures such as training and capacity building, and of course other awareness initiatives that can boost the separate collection and recycling. And of course, this has to be organized in a certain way under operational programs which foresee investments in the sector of the environment, and which of course have to undergo strategic environmental assessments that have been carried out. Now, what is needed, and this is a conditionality, and I will tell you a few words on the conditionality, because they are extremely important. The waste conditionality is a complex conditionality with several criteria. Number one, you need a national waste prevention program. You need a national waste management plan. You need regional or county or local waste management plans, as the case may be. This is not something that the directive is telling you to do. For example, in Cyprus and in Malta, being island states, there is one national waste management plan. You don't need regional or local ones. But in Greece, we have one national and 13 regional. In Poland, you have the national and you have the voivodeship ones at the regional level. In Romania, they have national, regional, and county ones. They have realized, and they have to carry out strategic environmental assessments for 3 levels, that they don't need the county ones, and they have dropped. But that's important. So, waste prevention program, national waste management plan, regional and or county or local waste management plans, depending on the structure. And then comes the 4th criterion, that is the most complex one, which is the criterion linked to the economic instruments with the view to reach by 2020 the recycling targets foreseen by the Waste Framework Directive, and which has a series of sub-criteria, among which pay as you throw, to be developed ideally at the local level, extended producers' responsibility to be developed at the national level, landfill taxes to be developed at national and or regional level, and incineration tax, of course, where incineration is already existing, and where, of course, you have an overcapacity on incineration. Now, what is happening across the EU in most of our member states, the conditionalities have not been met, not yet been met. Poland, we have a lot of Polish friends here, in Greece, in Cyprus, in Romania, in Bulgaria, etc. The result being that EU funds cannot be spent at this stage for waste investments that we need so much, and of course, not to trigger the significant prejudice that is linked to the non-fulfillment of the conditionalities and which could suspend the payments from the beginning of the program period. Different approaches have been developed. I'm telling you this because probably these are things you cannot read in the books and in the newspaper. Two approaches have been developed. The approach of the self-suspension, where the member states have said, until we meet the conditionalities through an action plan that we establish, we will not co-finance any waste investment, which makes sense. And the other approach is the approach of the so-called SAFE project, where some projects have been identified that are considered as safe, notwithstanding the non-fulfillment of the conditionality, and which could already start being co-financed. Just to give you an example, and we have invented this in Poland, I'm responsible for Poland too, awareness raising campaigns on how you should do separate collection and recycling are safe projects, soft and smart infrastructures to boost recycling, separate collection are considered as safe, as being part of the criterion 4 that is boosting the separate collection and recycling, and therefore this can go ahead. Just to close this chapter, it is very important that the conditionalities are fulfilled as quickly as possible. In Greece, the mayor has mentioned that the National Waste Management Plan is under part of this consultation, but, and there is a but, it is a very ambitious one that is foreseeing targets much higher than the EU targets. So if we are in a country, and I want to be critical, because we have to be critical vis-à-vis ourselves, vis-à-vis our countries, and also sometimes vis-à-vis Europe. If we are with a 17% of recycling currently in Greece, which is probably not the real one, how can we go to 60-65, that is the target of the new waste management plan, where we have a 50% that we have to meet by 2020. As we say often in Greece and in other countries, the better is the enemy of the good, and the good here is the 50%. So let's try to reach this target and be realistic, and of course to do so, as Greece was doing landfilling and is doing landfilling up to 82%, Romania being the champion with 95% of landfilling, and the 95 and the 82 is not only legal landfilling, there is also a lot of illegal landfilling within this, which is another problem for which procedures have been opened. And let's try, and I make the link with the conditionality, to develop and reflect within the national and the regional waste management plans the pyramid which should be inverted of the waste hierarchy, starting with the bottom, the prevention, the use, the recovery, recycling, energy recovery, and then at the bottom, the landfill, which would be illegal landfill. And let me tell you that in a lot of member states, landfilling will not be co-financed by the EU in the new programming period. And this is the case of Greece. It will not be co-financed because we've been operating with 85% of landfills, including illegal ones, but also in other member states, landfilling will not be co-financed. Landfilling will be co-financed only if combined with an integrated waste management installations and operates them as a residue landfill, which is important, you know. Now, to each of that, taking also into consideration that from the 1st of January of this year, 2020, you have to collect separately the 4 streams, plastic, glass, paper, and aluminum. And of course, the other obligation from the landfilling directive that you have to divert the organic, the biodegradable from landfilling to reach by 2020 the 65% with 1995 prices, which means that what you will be landfilling by that time has to be very, very reduced because you have to remove all the organic waste and sources. And I have to say that Maria was pioneering once again with another life project and developed a separate collection for organic waste, nothing with separate bins to collect the organic with the view to use the organic as a product and to produce compost or other possibilities that can be done through the organic. Therefore, it is extremely important to do separate collection and source. There are different ways, bags of different colors. I'm living in a country, Belgium, where you have 2 different or 3 different bags to collect the recyclables or recycling houses. We do have some in Greece, or other systems where you can collect close to the source the recyclables. Because if you send the recyclables to an MDT, you can do the job downstream, but the quality of the recyclables that you will remove will not be a very good one, and therefore the price will be lower, and moreover, if you clean them, if you wash them, you will need to waste energy. So if you take into consideration the life cycle of the recyclable and the market has, I think the results will be negative. This doesn't mean that we don't need the MDTs, because let me tell you something. Our government has passed from one extreme to the other. The previous was in favor of big installations with private-public partnerships and with guaranteed quantities for the private investors to be in the position to invest and make their projects bankable. And now we are moving to the other extreme, where we say we don't need big installations, we can do the job at home. We can do the job through local, at municipal level plans that will boost separate collection and recycling. All this is fine, but this is something you cannot do from one day to the other. This needs time, and unfortunately it needs also a strong education, awareness, and culture to do it. Therefore, it will take time. And for me, the ideal combination is to have the 2 systems developed in parallel with intelligent systems at source within the municipalities that are willing to do so. Because if you go to the municipality of Athens, that is another paradox in our country. It's not a metropolitan municipality. It's a very small. It's what we call the historic triangle of Athens. You cannot do waste management only on the roofs. I would prefer green roofs rather than waste management of the roofs, because there is no place to do it. But there are other municipalities where you can do this, and of course if you do separate collection, and what here we're doing with the collection of organic, this is something you can move, you can transfer to another municipality where there is space and where you can have a small composting plant to do this. Not to mention another achievement of Maria and of the Technical University of Athens, with the small composting devices that you can use on your balconies, in your garden, and dryers as well for the organic, in the restaurants, etc. There are new possibilities that are currently offered and which enable us to reduce substantially the quantities of the waste associated. Therefore, it is very important to do that, but we still need some big installations. And just to give you the example of Poland, when I was in Poland, I had a very big meeting with a lot of ministers, and the ministers told me, let's bring the governors, Περιφερειάτες in Greece, because they don't believe us. So they would like to hear the European Union to tell them what needs to be done, and then we organize the meeting with them. the boycott ships. They came, and you know, every boycott ship wanted to have their own incineration plant because they were thinking that having a big incinerator will solve the problem. And of course, I told them that the Germans, with the over-incineration capacity, they have problems. We don't need to pass again to the other extreme. Incineration, if you make currently the proper calculation and take into consideration the resource efficiency and circular economy, can be done for the residues, maximum 25% of the total quantity can go to incineration with energy recovery. And in some member states, this 25% can go to legal landfills. But let me tell you again, and the mayor has also mentioned that, and Maria, that I do believe that in Greece, where we have a syndrome against nuclear, which I believe is justified, but the one that we have against incineration, we believe is not justified. I'm not arguing that we need to have incinerators everywhere, because it is important they agree to share incinerators amongst regions. Not every region needs to have their own incinerator. You need to reach a 50% average, and then see what you can incinerate with energy recovery. I do believe that being now in a transition period in Greece, we might need the two incinerators with energy recovery, but again, residues incinerators, which at the beginning will not operate as residues incinerators because the mountain of waste is there and needs progressively to be eliminated. So I wanted to share these general ideas with you and try to be practical. There are EU funds. We need realistic approaches, and of course, the point I was making in Greece, Poland, and other member states is that the exercise is not top-bottom. It is a combination of bottom-up and top-bottom. You have to identify the needs and the waste streams at regional level, and then try to make a combined approach with the top-bottom in order for the top-bottom to decide who is doing what, how the big installations will be serving several regions, and of course have an obligation that each region should reach their recycling and diversion of the biodegradable targets, which is an extremely important thing. I do believe that this seminar will enable you all and us to share a good practice. There is no miracle solution on waste management. It is a cocktail, you have a menu, you need to combine the different possibilities, but we are in a resource efficiency era. The EU is providing funds, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel. I keep saying that. We have expertise, we have knowledge, we can use the good practice that we have in other member states, and in that respect, this LIFE project will certainly contribute not only in the identification of the good practice, but also in providing complete solutions that can be implemented on the ground. Thank you very much.
Nice presentation, and you gave us great ideas what is really happening around Europe, European Union. I think that this conference will really take into consideration what's really needed for Europe, and not only Europe because we have other continents with us, but I think this is the way forward for waste management. So we have to focus on the resource efficiency and circular economy, eco-designs. As engineers, we have to look at that and save our resources in the planet.
Yeah. Can I add a small point?
Yes, please.
I wasn't planning to say this, but I think I was tempted by the mayor first and then by Maria. We are in the country that invented Europe. Europe is the name of a beautiful lady that was kidnapped by Zeus, who transformed himself in a bright torch brighter than the Spanish ones, and who kidnapped her. So we have invented here Europe, we have invented democracy, we have invented everything. We are part of Europe, we want to be in Europe, we want to be in the Euro, we want a fair deal with Europe, and we are ready to undertake all our obligations vis-à-vis our creditors, but of course a fair deal is necessary as the Greek people have suffered a lot. And it is also very important to know that Greece was the 10th member state of the European Union. We are now 28. We are a family. And within a family, you have the bad and the good boys. And sometimes some of the members of the family are capricious. But this is not something that is monopolized by one or the other, because in my long career in the European Commission, I have seen capricious approaches from other countries, big, small. Any EU member state has the right to have a different view. Therefore, I think that the problem first should be solved within the family. We don't need other non-EU institutions, unfortunately. We have them to help us in solving the problem. And I really felt the need to convey this message that we want to be in Europe, we want to be in the Euro, and we do believe that the family, our family, is, and the House Europe is in the position to find a solution to this problem in the interest of Euro, of Greece, of the European Union, and of all of us, because anybody can find himself in the same position in the future. Therefore, let's not create a precedent, be positive, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, George. You wear two hats. I know how you feel about Greece, but also you are a European member. They are working for the European Commission, so it's nice that you really think that way. Thanks again for supporting us. And again, I stress that this conference performed because we have support of the European Commission, and that's why we managed to have it. Otherwise, we couldn't be here. And we need to have Europe united to proceed. Now, I would like to ask Professor Angeniu from École de Mines Stabile, France. He's going to tell us about energy from biomass and waste impact on metal species. I just want to say that where's the lines? Is the editor of Waste and Biomass Valorization, is the journal that really publishes the best papers of this, will publish the best paper of this conference, probably the special issue. It's very valuable because this journal, along with other waste management and research and environmental management, we have this great journal supporting the conference we organized. And as I mentioned, this is the third of a series of international conferences on waste management. And I started organizing the fourth one, as I said. So we want to have this journal with us, supporting us, and thanks for being with us today. I know that we have Monday, we came and we are going to fly back. Thanks for coming and joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria, for this invitation. As it has been already mentioned, this is quite hard time for the country, and this is the place where we should be, where friends are in bad shape. We need to be there to support them and to boost an initiative like the one you're taking with other colleagues. That's why I'm very happy to be here. We have a lot of friends in the audience in this lovely country, and we need to be here with you in this article. So, again, thank you for the invitation. I had a nice trip yesterday, and I was surprised. We traveled with Maria, with her husband, families. It was really a family trip. I like this introduction. And as it has been already mentioned, there is a hierarchy in the European perspective, starting with recycling, recovery, and then still, when it's not possible, there are other solutions, such as thermal treatment to manage waste, such as municipal solid waste, contaminated biomass. This is what I'm going to put my focus to try to explain how what is seen as a problem, means the heavy metals, the contaminants, could be used as leverage, could be used as an advantage to treat solid waste. This work has been done with a number of my students and colleagues. This is the outline of my presentation. I'm going to remind you some of the figures on power gasification, and I will explain the difference with conversion, for example. And then we go in deepest to some chemistry and chemical engineering, how to use the presence of metals to emphasize the efficiency of the process, particularly in production of synthetic gas called syngas that is usually used as resources for biofuel production. So, it has been already mentioned, waste and biomass should be seen as resources. I'm not talking about biomass that is used for food. Of course, it should not have any competition between feeding people and treating for production of energy. This is, of course, secondary and third generation biomass that doesn't compete with food. The advantage of power gasification, which is a thermal treatment, are threefold. The first one is reduction of the volume, that we could reduce almost by 90% volume. The second one is the CO2, since it comes with photosynthesis, then capture CO2, and then the maximum you could release is the amount that has been stored in biomass. It means that you cannot generate more than that, which is good for the CO2 balance. And the third one is the distribution of biomass and waste. They are almost everywhere, as it has been seen and discussed by Mr. Premis. It means that there are potential local solutions. We don't need sometimes to have long distance transportation. So, local solutions are possible. So, how it looks like, as you can see, usually we start with refuse, with biomass, with waste, and use different atmospheres, and it goes within the process. We call power gasification because it's mostly a combination of both. That will run between 250 to 900 Celsius, and the most important is what comes out. The first fraction is the gas product that may contain CO, CO2, methane, and this gas, once cleaned, generates the syngas. Syngas is a mixture of CO and hydrogen, which is nowadays used for fuel cells, for running gas turbine, or using processes such as Fischer-Tropsch process to produce energy and chemicals. And then with syngas, you could go from waste to energy and useful materials. That's the concept. And one of the byproducts of this process is tar. It's a condensable that you could also transform to increase the gas yield. And at the end, we have a residue called char. Most of the places where we have this problem use char for landfill. Why the idea is going to be I will try to demonstrate today that instead of having this as a useless byproduct, it's usually useful byproduct that we use as catalyst to increase the reaction rate. More in detail, as you can see, if I go from biomass or waste, and there is an increase in temperature, bringing from drying 100 Celsius to 900, and the process as it goes have different stages. The first one is drying, where we remove water and volatiles, and then pyrolysis at low temperature, high-H atmosphere, and the result of pyrolysis is char, and the gas. And then if we continue the reaction, with a controlled atmosphere, we can generate the gas with higher levels. And metal surface at the surface. And the idea here is how to use these metals to increase the reaction rate, to increase the efficiency, and save some energy and money. There are still some challenges in the field of pyrogaseification. The cost of biomass processing, that could be sometimes a little bit tricky. The transport, the storage, the collection, these are the key issues. And the decomposition of tar to generate gas. Sometimes, if you have too much tar, and you can generate some technological problem, and that's why it poses some concern from some technology. This needs to be well understood. And technological challenges, because with metals you can come with some corrosion problem, but when this is well understood, you could move forward with advantageous ideas. So, some chemistry. This is the reaction we get in gasification, and there's no what. Okay. So you will see the first reaction, carbon that comes from biomass. So we have carbon, and if I run what we call steam gasification, I have steam here. The attack of carbon by steam will generate same gas, but it comes with side reactions. This is something that needs to be controlled. Since we have CO and steam still there, the steam can attack the CO to regenerate CO2 and hydrogen. This is to be avoided. That's why usually the combination of the reaction, the way they design the ratio of components, is to have enough carbon that may react again with CO to generate CO. It means that the balance of the reaction at the end will be CO and hydrogen, because this is the mix that is needed to get the high value of the reaction. Of course, if the oxygen rate is important, then you decompose the CO to give CO2. This is something to avoid. This is combustion. The pyrogasification is softer than combustion. It gives you CO and hydrogen instead of CO2. That's the idea. And what it is for, it's used for solid oxygen fuel cell. It depends on the ratio. It will be used for gas turbine. It depends on the ratio too. And this is something that has been developed many years ago, Fischer-Tropsch process, to generate biofuels and a lot of chemicals. So, now I'm going to focus on the role of metals. And if we look at the metals that we may have, we have inert metals. Of course, biomass grow in the land where there are natural species like minerals that get into the biomass. When you collect the biomass, you collect metals with. And then, as inert, you can have what's called alkali. It's a monovalent element, alkaline earth, and transition metal. Those metals have a significant impact on the reaction rate, on the reaction behavior, and also on the efficiency of the process. So my message here is to use this metal as an advantage instead of being a problem. So this is the surface of char. You can see it's a carbon base, like graphite, you can see, and usually the metals agglomerate at the surface. The rest of the structure is made of 5 carbon of 6 carbon ring. This is the surface. This is the solid product obtained after gasification. The idea is that those metals at the surface will help transforming the remaining carbon to increase the CO rate. That's the way to. So this is an example of what we have done, and we have made some char with metals. As you can see, this is the char. At the surface we have agglomerate of iron, and in the other one you can see the agglomerate of calcium, and in this one you can see the agglomeration of alkaline earth at the surface. These are made with raw wood concentration of metal at the surface before they vaporize. The idea is to use those to increase the capacity of the reaction. And in the other side, when we do this reaction, we increase the porosity at the surface. The combination of metals plus porosity gives you this catalytic aspect that we make use. So, some example. I'm taking in this graph a number of waste streams, wheat straw, beechwood, demolition timber, fetal remediation, sewage sludge, chicken litter, pepper sludge, and what you could see is the composition on transition metals. Some of them could be very significant, and as you see from arsenica, for example, for demolition timber. And if I take copper, and you can see the significant amount, and those wastes are banned in Europe because they have to go to landfill after stabilization. And the idea is it's kind of waste of resources because we have metals that have catalytic effect, and we can transform those waste to energy using the fact that they have metal inside. And the example could be given here. I'm taking a very simple case. This is what we call thermogravimetric analysis. It means that we heat the sample and we see the change in temperature while heating the sample. And the sample here is copper wood contaminated with three metals, nickel, cadmium, and zinc. What you could see quickly is that the first one is the raw wood, and those are the containing with metal. And what we could see quickly that when we have metal included in the wood, we have a couple of effects. The first one is that the reaction starts earlier. It means that the lie-off is easier, and also the conversion rate is higher. It means that using some of the metals, depending on the condition, could emphasize, accelerate the reaction, and this has been made in nitrogen atmosphere, and sometimes under the low temperature you can see also the vaporization of nickel here. This is the first effect, means acceleration of the reaction because of the metals. The second is gasification. It means higher temperature and the CO2 atmosphere. What we have seen here, the same poplar wood contaminated with nickel. And you could see the same effect. This is the raw ones. And you could see that those containing metals have an accelerated process. And also at the end, in this case, you could see the catalytic effect, in particular for nickel, for example. With 3% nickel, we have almost 15% more of transformation rate in comparison to the others that may be inhibitors. And this is the same. This is the derivative that shows you the reaction rate. And the two messages here is, depending on the type of metal, we can accelerate the transformation and then increase the gas rate, or we can inhibit the reaction and slow down the reaction. This is something we can play on to understand and to control the transformation rate. This is, a lot of people are familiar with this. You can dope, you can add some metals to get the effect expected. Okay, and mechanism, now we go quickly to keep some time. And if I take the gasification and the CO2 and the gasification regular with steel, and usually the metal exists in form of carbonate. And what happens is they are attacked by the carbon to give the metal itself with the CO. If we continue the reaction, and the metal will be attacked by CO2 or mono elements in terms of oxide, and the result of this, we say sometimes, that we will come up after gasification and the CO2 or steam will come up with what is expected is the syngas. And the syngas comes from what we call a loop that may generate three components, the syngas, hydrogen, and CO. And we can play with this ratio to increase the rate. So I will skip this one. So just look at the last graph. This comes from the literature. We have done the same, but the trend is the same. And this is the carbon conversion rate versus the significant impact of metals, with iron one being done by the alkali, who provide a lot of catalytic effect in comparison to the alkaline earth. And this idea of using this impact of metal could be used to manage the process and control the gas here. So I will finish with this, just to highlight some features. First of all, waste containing metals is a resource instead of being a problem. And if today the technology is well developed to understand and to control the impact of metals to increase gas yield, and if we can increase the gas yield, and we can increase the efficiency and the profitability of the product. That was the main idea I want to deliver here. And I will finish with our paper, the announcement. Most of you know that to go in the same initiative, we have the Waste Bench Conference next year in France, and there are some flyers also. Thank you for
this very nice work you performed, experimental work, and also showing the way that metals can be used instead of thinking that everything is so bad for our community and our health. Now we continue with the next speaker, is Florian European Compost Network. European Compost Network is the co-organizer of this conference. I'm sorry I didn't announce this from the beginning, Florian. The speech will be back to the roots, the art of composting and the Compost Challenge. Composting is well known. We have to put emphasis on composting because in a way we treat a lot of bio waste. So I think this speech will be a very good speech. The mayor has to leave the organization of all this.
Επιτρέψτε μου να αποχωρήσω, γιατί στους δημάρχους έχει ανακαιθεί η διενέργεια του δημοψηφίσματος και όπως καταλαβαίνετε ο χρόνος είναι πολύ περιορισμένος για να επιτευχθεί αυτό το θέμα. Σκευάκη, σας ευχαριστώ που ήρθατε στη μισή μας και εύχομαι τα συμπεράσματά σας να μας βοηθήσουν να βρούμε τις βέλτιστες λύσεις στη διαχείριση των στερεών. Καλή σας μέρα, ευχαριστώ.
cycle where the carbon and CO2 has a certain stock in the atmosphere, in the fossil sequestration, in the marine environment, and in the soil. What we are concerned about is the small cycle, or the more short-term cycle between the biomass, the biotas, which has a stock of approximately 1/5 of the total soil stock here. And in the soil stock, we have to differentiate between the total stock and the soil organic and the carbon. How can we influence that? What we have to take into account, or I just see a mistake, here it is the stock here in the soil is probably the medium retention time, and the cycle is 25 years. And here we have approximately 5 years for the biota. And every ton of carbon, soil carbon, we are sequestering or releasing from the soil equals approximately 3.6 tons of CO2. So this is the carbon source, this is the carbon we can manage when we are going to soil management. We started soil management in the ancient times, mainly 10,000 to 15,000 years ago. And what you see here is the possible equilibrium of carbon stocks in the soil depending on soil management. Here is the original situation with 100% in a savanna or in the forest environment. Now we start tilling and plowing and production of our food waste, and a new equilibrium is established depending on the type of soil management at a certain level, usually going down to less than 50% of the original stock. Now we are in this situation and asking ourselves, what can we do in order to increase again, and then I'll summarize it, the humus content in a way to increase higher potential of self-reliance, productivity, fertility, and soil health. So it's up to our hands how we can adopt again the soil as a prominent soil sink. As a general message, we can say sustainable humus and carbon conserving method, as has been summarized or put together in the system of organic farming, showed in long-term trials through a lot of investigations of literature that in organic farming system we can build up 300 to 500 kilogram carbon per year per hectare, which includes a lot of activities. It's not only adding organic carbon, there are a lot of options we have in our soil and agricultural management. For instance, no-till or reduced-till farming would create a potential of adding 300 to 500 kilogram carbon per year. If we include cover cropping, it's even a bit more, and if we then recycle manure or any other external organic matter to the soil, is up to 800 to 1200 kilogram carbon per hectare a year, and this is already balancing very intensive crop rotations, which due to tilling and plowing are reducing the amount of carbon. This is a soil carbon map for Europe, produced by the Joint Research Center in Israel. And during the exercises for preparing a soil strategy for Europe, which fails to establish a soil framework directive now, the experts, they identified that, I just tell you the figure for the Mediterranean countries, and you see the light colors here, we all belong to those with less than 1 to 2% of organic carbon in our soils, and all the soil scientists will tell us at that level the soil productivity, soil health is endangered to provide the sufficient food, fodder, and wealth for our societies. So 75% of our Mediterranean soils are at that level of being endangered. And this is just 2 or 3 examples of the long-term trials with different farming and cropping systems. this is Rob Hempstead's experiment, where it could be shown that unfertilized or mineral fertilized systems just keep the same level of organic carbon. If we want to improve the situation, we have to give back organic, in this case of farmyard manure, to the soil. This is also here quite interesting. Here they stopped to recycle farmyard manure, and you see the decline of organic matter again at a certain stable state, and you don't achieve any further improvement. This is the knowledge we have since the beginning of the last century. Many reports, and the research started around 1900, taking care about our soil fertility, and the humus question came up after the boom of mineral fertilization at that time, and there is a lot of literature even from that time. This, of course, the loss of soil, which ends up in the sediments, in the rivers, in the sediments, in our also in the sea. It is not only the Mediterranean area. Even a very prominent study in the UK showed us that during the last 25 years, approximately 50% of the organic carbon has been lost. The main what evolution has invented when the plants conquered the terrestrial environment is that the plant created a symbiosis with the soil microbial community in order to create the environment to grow and to build their full plant growth potential. 25% of the photosynthesis products and efforts are given for their symbionts. Yeah? So it is not only, photosynthesis is not only done for their own sake, for building plant biomass. 25% of the energy that is transformed in the plant is given to the microbial community in the direct environment of the root. And we also know that in the direct environment, 2 centimeters approximately, or in only 1 centimeter root, there are 50 times more higher colonization of microbes, which are symbionts to plant growth. So we have to consider and become really again compassionate about our soils and soil management in also taking up what has been formulated in very early times in the 20th century, saying that the soil is the mediator between the dead rock and the living empire of plant growth. So we have to elevate somehow the main properties of the dead rock lithosphere to something living. Only where the plant is introduced to a living environment which is sort of similar in its whole composition, the humus compounds composition, only then the plants can perform properly. I don't read all this. These are all these advantages of the effects of the humus compounds has on the fertility and soil health and plant performance. Water holding capacity, soil structure, the buffer capacity. It liberates CO2 for better plant performance, yield and quality. The chlorophyll content is increased in the plant. So then we know humus is needed for soil fertility, and it is mainly the enormous surfaces which a humus clay complex would provide, and therefore the quantitative aspect of providing a soil, managing a soil to increase this surface macro, micro, and mesopore system is very important. Just to give you one figure, unified organic matter provides a surface of up to 1,000 square meters per gram, and this is considerably more than any mineral compound can provide. I'm going now to some results of long-term trials applied in compost, and then finalize with some issues what we have to consider about the efficient and richest production in composting technology. We because I consider some misunderstandings have been taken up on the route during the last 20 years. So this is, for instance, one example from a trial in the vicinity of Vienna. 20 years of compost application, not very high rates, 5 tons, 10 tons, and 14 tons of fresh matter. That's not huge, so nobody will blame us to do too much. But we see in all these years we have considerable increase of organic matter in the soil, stabilization of the organic matter content, as if you compare it to pure mineral fertilization, or even a combination of compost and mineral fertilization, mainly by means of nitrogen. So, confirmed, here you have, in this 20 years, you have here the humus, the carbon balance in kilogram carbon per hectare and year, all through the years, where you have a consequent linear increase of the positive carbon balance, and you see again 800 kilograms. This is what we have seen before of all the data. So it is confirmed, even if you apply moderate amounts of compost, you can still achieve an enormous effect. And this is the CO2 climate, we could say climate or greenhouse gas balance, just related to the carbon issue, not taking into account the energy used for production of mineral fertilizer. Maybe some noise here. That we really achieved considerable credits from approximately 10 tons on with compost fertilization and produce net CO2 emissions in the conventional farming system. This is another research in Germany. In average, they have shown, they have shown also here with 2 different sites, 3 different applications of compost, that in any case, even with the lowest amount of compost applied in silty soils, sandy soils, clay soils, we have an increase of carbon per hectare, 300 to 1,000 kilogram carbon per hectare. So all long-term experiments we have available in this area show the same picture. This is the Rodale Institute in America working with composted manure, the same results, the same magnitude, just to confirm you. But what is interesting, this is a 21 years result of the so-called DOC trial comparing biodynamic farming, organic farming, conventional farming, and mineral fertilization. And what has been seen, the difference between the dynamic system and the pure organic system is that here the manure was composted. And the difference is that the macromolecule and more stable humin carbons, this fraction is significantly increased to the fresh manure or fresh material applied to soil. And this is the main message here, that producing stable humus complexes is one of the most important exercises in producing compost. I don't read this. Yeah, 2 minutes, I managed. I don't read this, but about the circular economy and also with the side branch of the revision of the fertilizer regulation in the meetings in Europe and in other conferences. It was always said we need to focus on nutrient efficiency. And my belief is we need to focus on humus efficiency, because the plant is taking the nutrients via a lively transformation of the nutrients which are bound to the organic matter and which are included in the microbial community. So therefore, if we are more humus efficient in all our activities, we also will achieve nutrient efficiency for the future. So this is the difference between the industrial compost produced and with the very carefully compost produced with the aim to achieve the highest efficiency in producing clay humus complexes. Here you won't see any further particulate organic matter. Everything is really transformed in a proper way. And what you see here is it's very black, so it's sort of carbonized, too high temperatures for too long times, dried out inhomogeneous situations. It is the same age, but still you find a lot of particulate organic matter. And whenever you put particulate organic matter on the soil, you don't know exactly what happens. What is leached out during mineralization? What goes through there? Because it's not stable. You leave it to the potential microbial transformation of a certain soil and soil quality community. If this works fine or not. And with composting, we have the chance to provide just what evolution told us what the plant produces for their own proper materials. And this is one issue. If you build a composting heap and you want to compost, it's a pure oxidative process. And the oxidative process, needing a lot of water, does take only place if you provide this oxygen continuously and with sufficient water continuously. And with the natural convection process, you always will have a non-oxygen supplied basic core area, which you can only manage if you look into your compost nearly every day. This you see from very small composting plants, terms 2 times per week, and still you have a tremendous inhomogeneity and blocking the really unification and composting process by building very intensive fungal actinomycetes colonization, sometimes in the core areas, sometimes in the surface, and only this one, which was maintained very properly, has a continuous quality of the transformation process throughout the entire. And rushing through, I'm telling you the trick. You have to add clay soil and all compost to the composting process. Otherwise, your process is too intensive and you just cannot manage to achieve this humus formation in a proper way. And most important, and what is mostly forgotten, and not easy to manage in closed reactor systems, water, water, water. You have to be always on the highest possible level of water capacity of the material. And in closed reactor systems, this is very tricky, including the forced aeration. It's very tricky to manage this in a proper way. And then most of the cases you restart the proper composting during the maturation phase. So in mixing soil, very fine threaded material into and compost into the raw mixture into the composting system should look like something like that. I'm sorry, I didn't bring a sample to taste it. We do this next time. And then there are 2 parameters you have to check. This is of course the temperature, never above 65 degrees Celsius. And secondly, the CO2 evolution is a very fine indicator in order to tell you when to turn. And now the last only pictures to give you an impression of what is possible with the smart composting system to manage or to face the humus challenge. First of all, I would never allow an engineer, a technical engineer, to take over a composting plant who has not done an intensive training and experience in hand composting. Because only then he has followed the biology day by day. And during the first 4 weeks, the process is so virulent is an English word, so intensive, yeah, that it changes nearly every hour. And you have to understand what's going on there to provide the right environment for the microbes to do the job we want. So hand composting is a must for every compost operator. Now, I think 5 slides with pictures. This is possible everywhere. Decentralized composting in Austria, in Oman, coverage with fleece to protect against the sun. In Mexico, in Australia, in Ethiopia, we start here with hand composting, coverage and also with sun. Roofing. I don't know if you know, go to the website of Satan Project. It's unbelievable what they managed. 30 years They transferred 5,000 hectares of deserts to a green paradise just with biodynamic farming, and the biodynamic farm started with composting of their cattle and people. So this is what, and of course they had to have some smart ideas to get together. Argentina. So in all environments, this is possible. The China project for the production of berries which were exported to Austria based on the compost system. Uzbekistan. My heart bleeded a little bit when we went up here. The mayor said a beautiful island, of course, with a long history. You see the terraces. I don't know how long it is ago that those terraces, even in that time, even in the beginning of July, were green. Yeah. So maybe this is the next step, what to do with the compost and to do some, not urban, but island gardening again. The terraces are there and they will be happy not to waste the biomass, which is now growing unmaintained. Thank you very much.
In our country, composting at the top of the waste management agenda, but I think it's not so easy to do it. People think that it's very easy to do it. It seems that it's not that easy, so we need more knowledge on this field. Thank you again. Now I'm going to order